Hello, what are you having for lunch today?
Hi there, I'm having my usual homemade sandwich and banana.
So why have you got the scales with you?
I'm taking part in a research study and I'm using the scales to weigh all the food and drink that I eat so that the researchers can accurately assess my usual food and drink intake.
And how long do you have to do that for?
I have to do it for 4 days in a row and include one weekend day. So I'm starting today, Wednesday, and we'll record today, Thursday, Friday and Saturday. I did have the option to start on Sunday and record Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But I was better for me if I started today.
So is that not difficult?
No, not really. I have a food diary notebook where I have to record the time and describe the food and drink I eat. I have to weigh it, and if there are any leftovers from what I eat, I have to record the weight of the leftovers. Each day I take a new page and fill the day and the date in as well.
And how do the scales work? Are they not complicated?
The scales are to weigh my food and drink. Look, they're really easy to use. First I have to put the scales on a flat surface, then place a plate on the scales, switch the scales on and make sure that they are 0. Then I weigh each food item separately and record the weight in my food diary. Let me show you how I did my lunch. So for today's sandwich, I weighed the bread first, wrote down the weight of the bread in the diary, zeroed the scales, weighed the butter, noted down the weight of the butter, and so on with the ham and the tomato.
And what about times when you can't take the scales with you, when you're eating out, for example?
Well, yes, if I'm out for a meal or at a friend's for a coffee, I have to estimate the portion as best I can. I can use household measures to do this. So for example, when I'm round at my friend's for a coffee, I can record that I had a mug of coffee and that I added a teaspoon of sugar to the coffee. When I'm out for a meal, one of my favourite meals is fish and chips. I have to note down that whether it's a large piece of fish, such as haddock, and then often it's a quarter of a plate of chips. So I write that information down. So no, it's not complicated.
And what other information do they need from you?
As much as possible, really. For example, I have to note down if it's low fat or low sugar, if it's wholemeal or white bread, if it's a gluten-free bread or a gluten-free product, if it's a frozen or fresh product, and the brand information, that's really useful too. I can also keep the labels of the foods that I've eaten. So for example, with your chocolate bar there, I could keep the wrapper and send that back with the food diary.
What about cooked food? What happens when you're cooking at home?
Well, yes, it's important to describe how I cook the food. So for example, I have to write down if I grill something or bake something. And if I fry something, I would have to note down the type of oil I use. If I cook with a recipe, there's a section at the back of my diary to write down the actual recipe.
So how do you go about that?
Once the ingredients are all cooked, I have to weigh the final cooked meal and record the weight next to the ingredients list. Then in the day's food and intake section of the diary, I have to write down the name of the recipe and the weight of the serving that I ate. They gave an example in the diary and it's quite easy to follow those instructions.
And are there any foods you can't eat while you're doing this?
No, I've been asked to follow my normal diet, hence my usual ham and tomato sandwich. That's it really. I've just been asked to do this for 4 days, and then when I'm finished I have to return the completed food diary to the researchers in a free post envelope that they've provided for me.
Very good.